transistor. The credit of inventing this transistor goes to J. Bardeen from Bell Laboratories, USA. So what exactly is, it was invented in 1947 for just data sake. What exactly is a transistor? See, transistor is actually a triode. Alright, we have done what? Till date we have done diode. Now this transistor is actually a triode. Okay. So triode. What exactly is a triode? See, a PN junction diode consists of what? A P region and an N region. So, but obviously that triode will be having 3 junctions. So the combinations will be either PNP or it would be NPN. You cannot obviously have PPN because that will ultimately lead you to PN junction diode, right? So what are various types, what are various parts in a transistor and what exactly it does, how exactly it works? Let's do it. Okay. See, let's go through the symbol and configuration how a transistor works. I am taking a simple example of NPN transistor. This is N side, P side and N side NPN transistor. So there are 3 terminals from which connections are usually made. So let's also take NPN transistor. Okay, this is N. We have already taken NPN, so this would be PNP, right? Now there are 3 parts, 3 type of junctions for which connections are made. So one of the junction is called emitter. The central junction, this is very lightly doped, is called base, and the third one is called collector. These are just nomenclature kind of thing which is important while illustrating how a transistor works in a circuit diagram. Similarly, one junction is emitter, then base, the central one, which is very, keep this in mind, this is very lightly doped always, and the third one is collector. Now what is the difference in symbols of PNP and NPN? See, this is how a transistor is used as for symbol. This base region is by straight line, there is an emitter part, there is a collector part, and these are the 3 connections which we have to make, this one and this one. So how do we differ this emitter with collector? There is an arrow placed in emitter like this. Now if an arrow represents what? This is emitter, this is base, this is collector. So what must be the difference between NPN and PNP? There has to be some difference. See, the difference lies, these are the 3 connections which I am making for the connection of the circuit. The difference lies in the direction of arrow, and this is what represents if that is going to be an NPN or a PNP transistor. How? We know that current flows from positive to negative, right? So in NPN, this is NPN, which part is basically positive? The base part. This is positive, right? Base part, and current is going to flow from positive to negative. That is why the arrow is on this side. In case of PNP, this part is positive, the P part, so current is again flowing from positive to negative, and that is what this arrow is representing. So by just looking at this symbol, you can also tell that this is a transistor, this is symbol of transistor. Number 2, you can tell by looking at the direction of arrow that it is either a PNP or NPN transistor, right? Always go like this. Arrow is in the direction of current, so arrow is in the direction of positive to negative. So if arrow is inside, this is positive to negative, so automatically it will become PNP, right? Now how does a transistor works? For that, let me complete a circuit, and you will have to remember always a golden rule while making any circuit diagram for a transistor. The golden rule is like this: emitter base junction is always forward biased. Emitter base junction is always forward biased. See, what is emitter base junction? This is where I am going to explain you the working. So I have to, this was our emitter region, right? So for N, I am representing these electrons. For P part, we have holes, but why very few holes? Because base was lightly doped. Lastly, N region, again very great number of electrons, right? we have to do what? We have to forward bias the emitter based region. How can we forward bias it? Emitter is what right now? It is N negative type, so it will be connected to negative terminal of the battery, and P part will be connected to positive terminal of the battery. So now this emitter and base junction is forward biased, just to make it variable, right? Similarly, if emitter base junction is forward biased, this will always be reverse biased. For example, negative connected to positive part, positive connected to negative part, and variable voltage. In many books you will see the diagram like this, that here the voltage would be just represented by one cell, and here voltage will be represented by 3 or 4 cells or more than 2 cells, right? That is because this region, which is what? Base and collector region. We are dealing with two different regions simultaneously. One is our emitter base region, this one is our base collector region, right? We are going to come back on this point again, but in these two junctions, base and collector region are what? Reverse bias, and in reverse bias we need higher supply of voltage just to flow the current, right? Now see what happens. Since emitter base region is forward biased, what happens? This electron, due to forward biasing of this junction, will easily migrate to this region. Now there are two probabilities. I am moving this electron in this region. There are two probabilities. One is that either it can get neutralized in the base region because base is positive. So what actually happens if it gets neutralized? It will jump from hole to hole. I have already explained you this fact that when a PN junction diode is forward biased, current easily flows from the region P to N without any problem, and there is no further neutralization of P and N recombination. Why? Because the movement of electrons and holes is under the influence of the external source and external electric field, and that is what will lead the current and electrons to flow. Now once this electron region enters this region, it will either get what? Neutralized. Neutralizing means getting transferred from hole to hole. It will keep on jumping from hole to hole, and ultimately it will reach this, that is it will enter this part of the battery through base region, right? This is one of the probability, but the chances are very less. Why? Base region is very lightly doped. Almost 5% of what emitter and collector region are doped. So once this electron enters this region, so it will what? It will do what? It will actually go to the this battery or the external source. Here a covalent bond will break. The covalent bond breaking will reproduce an electron which will again go inside the N region, right? So the the quantization, or you can say the conservation of charge, is maintained throughout the cycle. Electron which moved to this region has entered this cell where a covalent bond breaking formation takes place, due to which an produced or liberated electron enters the same region. So that electron is reproduced. If this electron goes to this region, it is attracted by the positive terminal of this battery, and this electron will undergo like this, because there will be another covalent bond breaking, and that produced electron will go to this region. So what are two different directions of flow of electron? One is in this part, this is how electrons are flowing. Number two is from here to here, right? This is how electrons are flowing. So what is the actual flow of direction of current? Current flows in the direction opposite to that of electrons. So in this part, current is flowing in this direction, and obviously it is to positive to negative. Again, and in this part, electrons opposite direction, which is this, right? Again it is true, because current flows from positive to negative region. So this is the now if I remove these redundant red lines which I do not require any further, so what you will get, this is how current formation, current flow takes place in a transistor. These are the directions of flow of current. Now look at this junction. This junction is what? Current which is getting out of the emitter region will be called emitter current. Current which is entering base region will be called base current. Current which is entering the collector current will be called collector current. So here we have an emitter current, we have a collector current. At this region, emitter current is getting transferred into what? Base current and collector current, right? But the percentage ratio would be like this. If emitter current is 100%, base current would only be 5% because of very minimal doping in the base region, and lastly it will be 95%. So point to be noted here is collector region, which was in reverse bias state, is still producing as large as current as it was introduced in the circuit. In spite of it is being in a reverse bias region, we have already learned that in reverse bias state diode do not conduct, but even being in the reverse bias state, it is having a very huge value of current as it was given an input. So that is how the transistor was named, because it is named by two words. The words are transfer resistor, and the combination of word gave you, the combination of these two words coined transistor. What does it means? It transfers the resistance of output circuit to somewhere else. Let it be input circuit, right? This is how transistor works. One more thing, we had emitter base junction and base collector junction. So here base region is common. So this particular circuit belongs to common base configuration. This is common base configuration. That means if we have a common base configuration, we must be having common emitter configuration as well as common collector configuration. So what would the circuit diagram look like? Now I am removing this. This was the block diagram to represent how this current flows, what is the formation causing the flow of current in a transistor. Let's make these three circuit diagrams for common base, common collector and common emitter diagrams. One is common base. See, easiest way to draw is just first of all draw the, we are doing it for NPN transistor, right? NPN transistor each time. So to make it NPN, where it should be arrow placed? If this part is emitter, let's say this part is emitter, so arrow will be placed outwards or inwards. Arrow is placed according to the direction of flow of current. This is an NPN. This part is positive, this part is negative. So positive to negative, this will be the direction of arrow. We have to make emitter base region forward biased. So emitter which is negative will be connected to negative, other will be connected to positive. This is how you make the diagram, right? This is the circuit diagram for common base configuration. For common emitter configuration, make your emitter here. So these will be the connections. Now we are talking about what? Again we are talking about NPN configuration, right? So positive will be connected to positive, negative will be connected to negative, variable voltage. Here both sides it is negative, so you can make any combination, either it will be positive or negative, doesn't matter. And this is the configuration what? This would be common emitter configuration. Similarly, you can have a common collector configuration by doing what? By making circuit like this. Here collector has to be common. So this part emitter and collector as one junction. I'll put up the battery again, and base and collector as one junction. You can usually do like this when you are drawing the circuit diagrams in the pencil, and then you rub in between where you have to place your batteries, and batteries are to be placed according to the biasing of emitter base region. This is where is emitter base region. We do not have any emitter base region here, right? So you will be doing emitter and collector region to be forward biased, right? So no, we'll be doing this base region, and because base is positive, this is negative, so we'll be doing base and this region to be forward biased, and this is reverse biased, and this is a common collector configuration. Now how do we calculate the value of current produced and potential difference applied across this thing, and what transistor finally do, what are the applications of transistors? Let's move on to the next topic.